All right, welcome back. Today we're diving into a really fascinating, kind of mind-bending idea from our source material. What if an entire country wasn't just a country? What if it was actually a school, a special training ground, designed for one purpose, to create the future leaders for all of humanity? And that country is Korea.
So, the source material just lays it out there with this really bold statement. This one idea, if you think about it, completely changes how you look at a nation's purpose, right? Its whole history, all its struggles, they suddenly mean something totally different. So yeah, let's really get into what this means.
And look, this isn't just some poetic metaphor. The source makes it clear that this is the core of an entire worldview. I mean, we're talking about a framework that tries to explain, well, everything. Your personal growth, the country's politics, even the destiny of the world. The idea is that every single thing that happens, every job someone has, it's all just part of a giant curriculum.
Okay, so if Korea is this big school, then who are the students? It's a pretty natural question, right? Well, the answer is simple. It's everyone, all of us. And to really understand where we fit in, we first have to get our heads around the system of 10 different levels of life, or Gepsu.
So this core idea is called Gipsu. You can think of it as a level or a grade, like in school. But here's where it gets really wild. According to the source, this system isn't just for people. Nope. It applies to every being, whether they're human or even divine. It's laid out as this universal structure for all consciousness.
Now, this is where it gets really structured. Those 10 levels, they're broken down into 3 main tiers. You've got the upper tier, those are the top 3 levels, and their job is leadership and guidance. Then there's the middle tier, the next 3 levels, and their role is to support those leaders. And finally, the lower tier, the bottom 4 levels, have this super important job of supporting the supporters. See how that works? It's like this perfectly interconnected ecosystem where every single part has a purpose.
So you're probably wondering, can I move up? And the answer is yes. But it's not just about wanting it or being ambitious. The source is really clear on this. People from different tiers can and should work together. But to actually jump from one tier to another, say from the middle to the upper, that requires a massive, fundamental shift. You have to truly grow, to understand things on a completely different level. Basically, you gotta ace the lessons of your current grade before you can even think about moving up. All right, so if we're all students in this system, what's the point? What's the end goal? What are we all striving for? Well, it turns out the reward you get for your hard work and growth is directly connected to your tier and what your social responsibility is.
And this table just lays it out perfectly. It's a hierarchy of recognition. If you're in the lower tier, you're working hard, and for that, you earn praise. Makes sense. In the middle tier, you're doing your job, you're fulfilling your role, and for that, you get esteem. But then you get to the upper tier, the leaders. Their goal is something different. It's to shine. And when they do that, when they truly lead, they earn the highest reward society can offer: respect.
And this quote here really drives the point home. These rewards, praise, esteem, respect, they're not just temporary pats on the back. They represent a solid, stable place in society that you've earned by doing what you're supposed to do. The key takeaway is this: when you get the right kind of recognition for your level, it brings this incredible stability. You're not easily shaken.
Okay, this is all fascinating as a philosophy, but how does it actually play out in the real world? Let's take a look inside the classroom, and let's start right at the top with the most advanced students in the whole school.
So the source asks a question that a lot of people have probably wondered about. Why do Korean presidents seem to face so many difficulties? I mean, historically, it's been a really tough job. Well, this whole school of worldview has a very, very specific answer for that.
It comes down to this. They think they're the boss. That's the problem. All the trouble starts because they act like they're the final authority, the one in charge, when really, they're just the head student. They're in a school, and they've forgotten the most important rule. They're there to learn, not to rule.
So in this school of Korea, the presidency isn't a throne you sit on, it's a major you declare. The person in that office is actually enrolled in presidential studies, and you can bet it's the hardest course in the entire school, because it's designed to create a leader, not just for Korea, but for the whole world.
And this idea doesn't just stop at the president. Oh no, it goes all the way down the line. You're a minister? Well, you're studying minister studies. Police commissioner? Welcome to commissioner studies. Every single leadership role is just another field of study. They're all students, trying to master their specific subjects so they can help with the school's one big mission.
Okay, so if all these leaders are students, then what are they studying? What's the textbook? What's the curriculum? According to the source, it's the nation's own history, all of it, especially the painful and complicated parts.
And this is such a key point. The source says that Korea's long history of suffering, that wasn't just a string of bad luck. It was the curriculum. It was necessary. Why? Because if you want to create leaders who can actually help people who are suffering, they have to first understand what that suffering feels like, deep in their bones. The school made them live through it.
And when you look back through this lens, you start to see the lessons everywhere. Those ancient empires that rose and fell, that was lesson 1 in international relations. All those centuries of hardship, that was the course on empathy. And the incredible economic development in modern times, that was the practicum on how to build a new world from scratch. Every single part of it, the source says, was a sacrifice to gain the wisdom needed to one day lead everyone.
Now, every school has a graduation day, right? Every curriculum leads to a final exam. And all this studying, all this history, all this sacrifice, it's all building up to one single point, producing graduates who are ready to lead a massive global change.
And these graduates have a name, Jongdoryeong. These are the ones who've aced the course. They've mastered the entire curriculum, they've finished their studies, and now they hold the knowledge of the right way, a brand new path for a world that's honestly pretty lost.
So why now? What's the rush? Well, the source argues that if you look around, the world's systems are breaking down. We see conflicts, like the war in Ukraine, that just go on, because the current leaders, they don't have a new vision. They don't know what to do next. There's no exit path. And that's exactly what the Jongdoryeong are supposed to provide. They're the ones with the map.
And their arrival kicks off what the source calls the Great Reform. This is a time when all the old ways of doing things just stop working. And right then, these new leaders, fresh out of the school of Korea, step up. They bring solutions that nobody else has even thought of, and they start this total transformation of how human society works.
And get this isn't some vague, someday in the future kind of prediction. The source is incredibly specific. It points to the year 2026. That's the year it says is the major turning point, when this whole great reform process is set to kick off for real.
So when you boil it all down, the entire point of this huge, centuries-long school, this grand experiment, is to produce what the source calls a person-like person, a truly complete human being, a leader who has been forged in the fires of sacrifice and study, who has this incredible wisdom, and who is ready to guide not just their own country, but all of humanity.
Which leaves us with one heck of a final question, doesn't it? It's a totally different way of looking at history, at politics, at everything. But you have to wonder, if there's any truth to this idea, it means the future of our entire world might just depend on the final exams that are happening right now in this incredible school for humanity's leaders.